People say that Birmingham has an inferiority complex. The only time I feel this myself is when Scalarama comes around. Oh look, isn't there a lot of stuff happening in Nottingham? And Bristol, and Brighton, and Manchester? What a lot of stuff going on. Let's see what's happening in Birmingham. Oh. Despite being the city that invented celluloid, we just don't seem to go for this Scalarama business. But that can change. My name's Andy, and I'm co-ordinator for Scalarama Birmingham. I was brought in at the last minute to try and muster up some enthusiasm for the season after the guys at head office had failed to generate any interest whatsoever. It's been a struggle, not because Birmingham's a cultural wasteland with no independent film scene. On the contrary, there are a great many people utilising the power of the moving image in brilliant ways. No, it's been a struggle because it's short notice and people are busy. Birmingham's a city full of people who are all getting on with their own projects without feeling the need to shout about them. And Scalarama is very much a festival of shouting about things. Shouting about celluloid, shouting about VHS, shouting about midnight movies, everyone together shouting about how much they love to shout about cinema. And that's great, but it's not what we do best here in Birmingham. So here are some people talking mildly about what they'll be doing in September.
So my name's Ian Francis. I'm from Flatpack Film Festival. We do an annual film shindig every spring in venues all over Birmingham, but we also do work throughout the year. We've always been very interested in the film going experience, and I guess Celluloid City has grown out of that really. We've celebrated Fairground Showman and Oscar Deutsch, and you know, the city has a really interesting history of cinema going. There was 110, something like that, 110 cinemas at its peak in the 40s. I guess the project's aim is to try and look at how the cinema going experience has changed over the 100-odd years that we've been watching films, and getting people's stories, looking at very particular parts of the story in Birmingham, like the kind of Art Deco boom. People in King's Standing who remember going to that landmark cinema that's now a Mecca Bingo, and also looking at the story of how Bollywood came to Birmingham. It was the first place to show South Asian cinema on a regular basis in the 50s and 60s. But the whole thing kicks off at the Electric in the middle of town, the city's oldest cinema, in fact the UK's oldest cinema. They're the last place in the city that has 35mm, which doesn't get used very often, but we'll be dusting it off and using it to screen Purple Rose of Cairo, the Woody Allen film, to kick off the season.
You can see the Purple Rose of Cairo on Saturday the 19th of September at 2 p.m. at the Electric Cinema. Here are Jenny and Pete to talk about their Birmingham Camera Obscura project.
Birmingham Camera Obscura is an ongoing project between Jenny Duffin and myself, Pete Ashton, to rebuild and rediscover the Camera Obscura, a device that's been around for about at least 1,000 years. All modern cameras are descended from the Camera Obscura, but the Camera Obscura doesn't actually make images. You get inside it and you see the image as it is projected onto a screen.
The project started out as us making cameras out of rooms, so we turned an apartment at the top of the rotunda into a big Camera Obscura, and from there we wanted to take that experience out into the public and make it even more effective.
Our Camera Obscura, funded by a Kickstarter campaign last year, is portable. It's a box that we can set up in about half an hour pretty much anywhere and point at pretty much anything. What we found is people get a really strange experience of seeing what is effectively a movie of the outside, but detached in this quite unique way.
We're hoping to encourage other artists to use the camera as a tool, as a part of their research and development of their own practice, but also expanding our knowledge of the tool and just seeing how far we can take this device?
We'll be setting up our camera obscura at Eastside Green, next to Curzon Street Station, the oldest piece of monolithic railway architecture in the world, and generally just playing about with it, experimenting with it, and inviting people to come and use it in its most basic form, and we hope people will.
You can see the camera obscura from 1 p.m. on Saturday the 12th of September outside Curzon Street Station. Here's Owen Davey to talk about Video Strolls.
Video Strolls is an online archive and an ongoing series of public screenings of films about place and journeying, curated by Owen Davey, me, and Andy Howlett from Birmingham. Some people say that walking around and talking with a camera phone is psychogeography, but I just think it's a cheap and easy way for good storytellers to tell good stories. That's why we encourage new filmmakers by showing their films alongside those of proper artists. We also like to have a bit of fun, a bit of a discussion, and a bit of a drink. www.video-strolls.com for more fun.
Video Strolls will be taking place at the Wellington pub on Tuesday the 22nd at 7 p.m. Other screenings taking place throughout September include Feminist Stories from Women's Liberation, Viva VHS, Career of Death, Dots and Loops, The Magic Cinema, Real Access Community Cinema Showcase, Repeater, Material World, and the second run titles Innocent Sorcerers and The Party and the Guests. So still not as much as Nottingham, but a good effort nonetheless. We hope you enjoy the season, and we'll be back next year, by which time we might just have learnt how to shout louder.